We love stories about the underdog. From David and Goliath to Rocky Balboa, tales of the little guy beating the giant always have a special appeal. And in the world of science fiction, no one plays the underdog role better than humans. In Stargate, we're the fledgling race compared to the gold gods. In Mass Effect, we're the newcomers in a universe filled with ancient and powerful civilizations. Even in Firefly, even having spread throughout the galaxy, we're still outlaws, surviving with recklessness and a spirit of freedom. Why is that? Why do we love this image so much? Perhaps it's because it touches on the core values of American culture, the pioneering spirit, belief in American exceptionalism, and the yearning for freedom. All of these make us empathize with the image of the underdog, overcoming adversity. We like to think of ourselves as David, fighting against greater forces to protect what we believe in. But what if I told you that that's a dangerous misconception? What if I told you that thinking of humanity as the underdog is a deadly mistake that could lead to our extinction? Think about it. In just a century, we've gone from propeller planes to spacecraft capable of flying outside our solar system. We've developed the internet, created computers more powerful than the human brain, and decoded our own genome. Our rapid rise after World War II, or the rapid space development during the Cold War, all of these prove that humanity has an extraordinary ability to adapt and innovate when backed into a corner. The Verians in our story made a similar mistake. They only looked at the surface, the crude weapons, the less sophisticated technology, and overlooked the potential, the determination, and the ability of humans to hack everything to survive. They didn't see that humans not only wanted to win, but also to survive, and were willing to do anything to achieve that goal. Look at the rise of China in recent years. In just a few decades, they have risen to become a leading economic and military power in the world. Many people underestimated them, dismissed their abilities, and now they are paying the price for that complacency. The lesson here is, never underestimate the enemy. Creativity and determination can be more important than technology. An inexperienced army, but equipped with a high fighting spirit, can defeat a powerful but unmotivated army. That's why the Indomitable is so frightening. It's not just a warship. It's a symbol of human determination and adaptability. All right, we've talked about how humans aren't the underdogs that many think. But what makes the Indomitable such an icon of that truth? To answer that question, we need to dissect this beast from the inside out. First, let's talk firepower. The Indomitable doesn't use flashy lasers like in Star Wars. Its main weapon is the railgun, or electromagnetic gun. Instead of firing beams of energy, the railgun fires metal projectiles at extremely high speeds, nearly the speed of light. Why choose a railgun? Because it's practical, effective, and difficult to intercept. You might think, what's so scary about metal? But imagine a bullet traveling at that speed colliding with a spaceship. It doesn't just pierce the armor, it creates a massive explosion, destroying everything inside. It's like a small bomb fired at supersonic speeds. Besides the railgun, the Indomitable is also equipped with a plasma lance. This is an energy weapon, but not for long-range bombardment. The plasma lance is used for close combat, tearing through the enemy's armor in the blink of an eye. You can imagine. It has a giant plasma cutter, powerful enough to cut a spaceship in half. But that's not all. The Indomitable also carries thousands of warp space missiles. This is a unique weapon of mankind, using space warp technology to bypass the enemy's defenses. When they explode, they don't just create an explosion, they also distort the surrounding space, rendering the enemy's armor and shields useless. So, what about defense? The Indomitable not only has powerful firepower, but is also protected by an extremely robust composite armor. This armor is made of many different layers of materials, each with its own function. Some layers absorb energy, some dissipate heat, and some have the ability to self-repair. It's like a tank clad in nanotech armor. But the scariest thing about the Indomitable isn't the weapons or the armor, it's its ability to infiltrate enemy ships. It's equipped with boarding drones with monomolecular blades, nanite swarms that can dissolve both metal and flesh, and exotroopers, cyborg warriors enhanced to the point where they can level a city. These aren't just weapons, they're a nightmare for any sailor who has to face them. Why did humanity create such a terrifying warship? The answer lies in our philosophy of war. Humans don't just want to win, they want to survive. We don't believe in beautiful battles and fair fights. We believe in using everything possible to destroy the enemy and protect ourselves. The Indomitable is the embodiment of that philosophy. It is a mobile fortress designed to endure and fight in the worst possible conditions. It's a reminder that in war, there is no room for romance or hypocrisy. There is only survival. With such power and brutality, the Indomitable could easily conquer the entire galaxy. But it wasn't built to do that. It was built to fight a much greater threat. Now that we understand the power of the Indomitable, the biggest question is, what are humans preparing for? To answer that question, we need to journey to a remote place, a cosmic graveyard, where the darkest secrets of the galaxy are hidden. Imagine millions of fragments floating in space, the remnants of a fierce war long forgotten. Enormous ships, larger than anything we've ever seen, torn apart like scraps of paper. This isn't war, this is utter destruction. Looking closer, we see strange signs. There are scorch marks from energy weapons, but also sharp cuts, as if someone used a giant knife to split the ship in two. And even more frightening, there are areas corroded to the molecular level, as if some kind of cosmic acid has devoured everything. But the strangest thing is, we can still detect faint energy signals emanating from the wreckage. These signals are very weak, almost undetectable, but they are still there, like an echo from the past. Most civilizations would ignore these signs. They would consider them natural disturbances or the remains of a long-ended war. But humans are different. We are curious, we constantly seek answers, and we never give up. Scout teams are sent to investigate. They risk their lives to explore these ghost ships, searching for any clues about what happened. But what they find is more terrifying than anything they could imagine. They find signs of a civilization that has been wiped out, bizarre scientific experiments, and mutated, horrific creatures. And most frightening, they realize that the war is not over. There is a force still lurking in the shadows, a force that once destroyed the greatest civilizations in the galaxy and is waiting to reappear. Humans call them the Arabus. The lesson here is, never ignore warning signs. Sometimes, the scariest secrets are hidden in the smallest things. Curiosity and scientific spirit can save our lives, but they can also lead us to our deaths. With these terrifying discoveries, humanity knew what it was facing, and now, they have to make a difficult decision: continue to fight alone or share the truth with the galaxy and hope that other races will stand alongside them. We've seen the ruins of the war that the Arabus caused. We've witnessed their destructive power. But to truly understand the threat they represent, we need to go deeper, explore the true nature of the Arabus. The Arabus are not just a race. They are a process of evolution. They don't follow any of the biological laws we know. They have the ability to absorb and adapt to everything they encounter, from metal to living creatures, creating bizarre and terrifying forms. Imagine a spaceship, but it wasn't built, it was grown. It is a living organism that can grow, change, and evolve. And when it encounters another ship, it doesn't just destroy it, it absorbs it, turning it into a part of itself. But the scariest thing about the Arabus isn't their power or adaptability. It's their psychology. They have no goals, no emotions, no values. They simply exist and destroy everything in their path. In the universe, there is a concept called entropy or chaos. It is the tendency for everything to gradually break down and disappear. The Arabus are the embodiment of entropy. They are a reminder that not everything has a purpose, and sometimes destruction is just the nature of existence. If you've ever watched Star Trek, you might think of the Borg. They are a collective of cyborg creatures, always seeking to assimilate other civilizations. Or if you're a fan of Warhammer 40K, you can imagine the Tyranids, an army of alien creatures, devouring everything in their path. The Arabus are just as scary, maybe even more so. In the real world, we also have our own Arabus. They are climate change, pandemics, wars, and environmental destruction. They are forces that have no consciousness, but can destroy our entire civilization. The lesson here is, don't just fear the Arabus, understand them. Recognize that the biggest threats often don't come from the outside, but from within ourselves. Indifference, greed, and destruction can turn us into our own Arabus. So what must humans do? How can we fight a force that has no goals, no emotions, and no weaknesses? The answer lies in cooperation, creativity, and sacrifice. Knowing the truth about the Arabus is one thing, but deciding to keep it secret is a terrible burden. Why did Captain Grant and the leaders of humanity choose this path? It's not just selfishness, but a risky gamble, a gambit with the entire galaxy. Think about the reasons they considered. First, avoid causing panic. If the whole galaxy knows about the Arabus, what will happen? People will be afraid, run away, compete for resources, and cause wars. Instead of uniting against a common enemy, they will destroy each other. We have seen this happen many times in history. When there is a disaster, such as an epidemic or an earthquake, panic often causes more damage than the disaster itself. People scramble to buy things, loot, and even kill each other. Second, preventing hasty action. If other races know about the Arabus, they may act without thinking, rushing into the war without preparation. That will only make the Arabus stronger and push the galaxy to destruction faster. We have also seen this happen in wars. When one side is overconfident and acts hastily, they often pay a heavy price. The Vietnam War is a typical example. But the biggest question is, do humans have the right to decide the fate of other races? Is it fair to keep secret a threat that could destroy the entire galaxy? That's a difficult ethical question to answer. Captain Grant and the leaders of humanity have had to face this question every day. They knew they were risking everything, but they believed it was the only way to save the galaxy. In the real world, we also have national secrets, information that the government keeps secret to protect national security. But sometimes, those secrets cause great controversy. When people feel betrayed and not knowing the truth, the Manhattan Project is a typical example. The lesson here is, leadership requires difficult decisions. Sometimes, sacrificing a part of the truth is necessary to protect what is more important. But we must also always question those decisions and ensure that they do not violate our fundamental ethical values. Captain Grant's decision to keep the secret has changed everything. It made Zorth realize that humans are not just a threat, but also a potential ally. Zorth, the captain of the Verian scout ship, has come a long way. From someone who despised humanity, he has become an ally, someone who believes in our strength and determination. But this transformation was not easy. It required him to face his prejudices, arrogance, and deepest fears. Remember, Zorth is a Verian, a race that has dominated the galaxy for thousands of years. They have advanced technology, a powerful military, and a long-standing culture. They believed they were the worthy rulers of the galaxy, and other races were just inferior. We have seen this happen many times in history. The Roman Empire, the British Empire, and many other empires all believed they were the center of the world and had the right to rule other peoples. But that arrogance often leads to their downfall. When Zorth witnessed the power of the Indomitable and heard about the Arabus, his worldview was shaken. He realized that humans were not the weak and backward people he once thought. They are a formidable force, and they are fighting a threat that could destroy the entire galaxy. That truth scared Zorth. He feared that his Verian race would be destroyed. He feared that what he had once believed was wrong. He feared that he was not strong enough to face the challenges ahead. But Zorth did not give up. He knew that if he did not act, the entire galaxy would perish. He bravely faced his prejudices, arrogance, and fears, and persuaded the Verian War Council to believe the truth. It was a difficult task. Many in the War Council did not believe Zorth. They thought he had been deceived, or that he was trying to polish his name. But Zorth persevered, presented convincing evidence, and spoke the truth with all his heart. We have seen people like Zorth appear in history. People who have bravely spoken the truth, even if it means they will be criticized, ridiculed, and even killed. Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, and Malala Yousafzai are typical examples. The lesson here is, don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to face difficult truths. Sometimes, the biggest change comes from overcoming our prejudices and arrogance. Thanks to Zorth's courage and determination, the galaxy has a chance to fight the Arabus, but the war has only just begun. Humans and Verians have shared the truth about the Arabus with the galaxy. but convincing other races to believe it is just the beginning. The bigger challenge is how to unite them and fight as one. The Galactic Union. Can it become a force strong enough to fight the Arabus, or will it disintegrate under the pressure of fear and division? Remember, the Galactic Union is not a unified nation. It is a loose collection of many different races, each with its own history, culture, and political system. They have different goals, values, and interests. Persuading them to put those differences aside and fight together for a common goal is an extremely difficult task. We have seen this happen many times in history. The Anti-Fascist Alliance in World War II, the alliance against Napoleon, and many other alliances, all faced similar difficulties. Differences in culture, ideology, and interests often lead to division and cause the alliance to disintegrate. Even between humans and Verians, there are many differences. They have different values, beliefs, and fighting styles, but they have learned to respect those differences and find common ground. They have realized that, no matter how different they are, they still share a common goal: survival. Each race in the Galactic Union has its own strengths and weaknesses. Humans have creativity and adaptability. The Verians have experience and discipline. Other races have unique technologies, different tactics, and valuable resources. Only when they work together to exploit those strengths can they hope to defeat the Arabus. Think of a basketball team or a soccer team. Each player has their own role, their own skills, and their own position, but they must learn to play together, coordinate with each other, and support each other. Only then can they win. The lesson here is, difference is not an obstacle, but an advantage. When we learn to respect, cooperate, and support each other, we can overcome any challenge. But time is running out. The Arabus are coming, and the Galactic Union must prove that they can unite before it's too late. The war has begun. The Galactic Union, with all its differences and contradictions, is facing the Arabus, an enemy with no mercy, no weakness, and no limits. Can they win? Is there still hope for the galaxy? The warships of the Galactic Union, equipped with the most advanced weapons and armor, rush into battle. Railguns, plasma lances, warp space missiles, all are used to fight the Arabus. But those weapons are not enough. The Arabus are able to adapt and evolve faster than anything they've ever seen. The soldiers fight bravely, sacrificing their lives to protect their comrades. The scientists work tirelessly, searching for weaknesses in the Arabus and developing new weapons. The leaders try to keep the Galactic Union from disintegrating, encouraging different races to unite and fight. The Indomitable, a symbol of human resilience and determination, is heavily damaged, but it continues to fight, inspiring other ships. Captain Grant and his crew don't give up hope, even when things seem hopeless. There are small victories, when the Galactic Union destroys some Arabus ships. But there are also great losses, when warships, planets, and civilizations are wiped out. The war is brutal, and no one knows who will win. But no matter how scared they are, the soldiers continue to fight. They know that if they fail, the entire galaxy will perish. They fight not only for themselves, but also for the future of their children and for all those they love. We have seen similar wars in history. World War II, the Vietnam War, and many other wars are survival wars, when humans face brutal and unrelenting enemies. And in those wars, the noblest qualities of human beings have been revealed: courage, sacrifice, and solidarity. The lesson here is, even in the darkest times, we must keep hope. We must believe that, no matter how difficult, we can overcome. If we unite and fight together, the war is not over. The Arabus are still there, and they may become even stronger in the future. But the Galactic Union has also become stronger. They have learned to fight together, how to exploit their strengths, and how to overcome their differences. The future of the galaxy is still unknown, but one thing is certain: the war will change everything. In the war against the Arabus, the Galactic Union must rely on humanity. But what truly makes up the human spirit? What strengths do we possess, and what flaws might hinder us? Understanding this is not only important to the story, but also helps us see ourselves more clearly. Adaptability is one of our greatest strengths. Look at how we have overcome difficult periods in history: economic crises, world wars, epidemics. Each time, we find a way to survive, even thrive. This comes from our relentless spirit of innovation. The need to survive drives us to create new tools, new technologies, overcoming seemingly impossible limits. From the wheel to electricity, from the internet to artificial intelligence, we are always looking for ways to solve problems and move forward. But the human spirit isn't just about good things. We also have our dark sides: ambition, selfishness, violent tendencies. Sometimes, these are the very things that drive us forward, but they can also lead to brutal and destructive actions. Power can corrupt people. When we have the ability to control others, we easily become selfish and domineering. That is why we need systems to control power and people brave enough to stand up against injustice. Despite our mistakes and failures, we must still learn to forgive, love, and build a better world. Survival doesn't just require strength, but also self-understanding and compassion for others. Zorth, with his wisdom, has recognized these qualities in humanity. He understands that, despite our mistakes, we still have the ability to create great things. And in the final part, we will reflect on the lessons that this story brings us. So, we've journeyed together through a story of wars between the stars, about magical spacecraft, and about enemies that cannot be defeated. But what does it all really mean? What can we learn from this story and apply to our lives? We have our own Arabus. Climate change threatens life on this planet. Pollution is devastating our environment and our health. War and violence cause suffering and death. Poverty and social injustice divide us and hinder our progress. But we also have our own heroes. People who are working to fight climate change, protect the environment, fight for peace and social justice. They are the soldiers of the Galactic Union in the real world. As Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." We need light and love to overcome the difficulties we are facing. So, I call on all of you. Reflect on what you can do to create a better world. Take action to protect the environment, fight against injustice, and spread love. Become a part of the Galactic Union in real life. The story of the war against the Arabus is not just a science fiction story. It is a reminder that we have the power to change the world if we unite and fight together. Believe it and start acting today.